believe it. It's really you.
You must have the wrong exam room.
Agnes, it's me. It's Whip. You are the surrogate. Sandy Summers? Agnes, come on. It's me. It's your cousin Whip. What's going on?
Exactly, Whip. What is going on? Welcome to the Bold and Beautiful podcast. I'm Michael Fairman, and my guest today is the newest edition of The Bold and the Beautiful, three-time Daytime Emmy Award-winning actress, Sarah Brown. Hello, Sarah. Thank you for being part of the podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Michael. Thank you for having me on.
This is great. I can't wait to talk to you all about, quote, Sandy. But you know why I say that is it was really interesting. As a mystery was unraveling about Sandy last week, we learned that Sandy's real name is, of all names, Agnes, which is a very interesting name for a soap name. What did you think about when you heard Agnes? Like, there's a story behind this, isn't there?
There definitely is a story behind it. When Brad was first telling me about the character and what he had in mind, he brought up the name Sandy, and she is recovering from secrets. And running from, let's say, maybe some secrets in her past, and that it makes perfect sense that she should be Sandy Summers.
But now Agnes.
Yes.
So where did Agnes come from?
The minute he said it, the first thing I thought of was Agnes of God.
See, I thought of Agnes Moorehead from Bewitched.
From
Bewitched.
You know, so everybody will have some sort of hopefully visual association with the name Agnes, and maybe it's the first time in soap history. That'd be great.
But nobody like Rick Hurst, when he had to say the word Agnes for the first time, did he thought that was...
We laughed.
Did you get him a little chuckle?
Yeah,
That's what we want to know.
I mean, I actually think it's a really beautiful name. It is. I like the name. And I always think of Agnes of God. And not necessarily the story of Agnes of God, but just that title.
Right.
Immediately I went, yes, Agnes of God. Let's do that.
Well, we learned that Whip and Sandy are related. And then, you know, I thought it was just really funny to me that snooping Whip goes snooping through the hospital and he walks into where she just had her embryonic transplant, just walks in. And then there comes, you know, Owen and Jackie with flower. I'm like... The girl just had a very private procedure. Everybody knows where to locate her. Didn't you find that a little...
Well, I was just glad that I didn't have my legs up in the stirrups or anything.
I know. I was really glad, too.
Like but yeah, of course, we laughed a lot about it. We make lots of jokes. You know, on the set, we make a lot of jokes. It just sort of... It's fun. It's funny stuff like that. Somebody snooping around and sneaking into the back room. You've just had this procedure and you're laying there in your hospital gown in all your glory. And in walks your cousin of all the gin joints, you know. But yeah, we had a great time with it.
You know, and I said that's where we learned that your Sandy is a barkeep. She was a barkeep and she has some kind of past. And what I thought was just really telling was during the procedure, Nick went out to touch her before the procedure and she kind of got all defensive and antsy and weirded out. Something is going on there.
Right, absolutely something is going on. You know me better than that. I wouldn't take a job if something wasn't going on.
It has to be something so dramatic and heavy.
Yes, it is.
Right, it's very heavy.
It is very well thought out. How about that? Heavy, I don't know if that's the right word. I think it's going to be incredibly... it's going to be mysterious for a while, and it's going to be intriguing all the way along, hopefully. And hopefully, you know, I'm definitely not going to play to the heavy. But, yeah, there's a heavy secret.
Well, there's nobody that I would put in a major dramatic storyline other than Sarah Brown because the tears you shed and the way you do it. Do you ever go, I can't cry one more tear? Here it comes. Because you have one coming down. You're not even speaking and you're in that hospital room. You know, just one tear coming down.
Completely.
Yeah, how does that...
Yeah.
Do you ever go, no more crying?
No, I'm a really sensitive person, and I'm amazed. I'm a sort of outside of my body sometimes just amazed at how they're flooding my face and I can't control them. And I've always wanted that British actor ability to just make one single tear roll down my cheek. And I just don't have that.
I thought I saw it the other day. Maybe it was two tears.
It's very rare. And it's outside of me. Unfortunately, once I get going, I don't control that aspect of my body. And yes, I have giant tear ducts. It does seem that way. It's been that way my whole life. I can be screaming at someone and having the worst conversation. We're just fighting and arguing, and you think I'm really angry, but I'm just bawling my head off. Always been that way. I get in trouble, I'm crying the minute I get in trouble.
Well,
as a kid. It was his fault.
even though most of the episode last week featured you, you didn't utter much dialogue. I always love how you have to stand there and kind of freeze and look in the camera without really saying anything. But there was a moment that you did say to Whip the following thing. Let's listen.
I met Nick and Bridget through an agency. They chose me from all of the possible surrogates. And it was obvious to me from the minute that I met them how much they want a baby of their own. I'm not here to take advantage. I could use the money, sure. You know, a few bucks. But all I really want to do is I want to help these people. Maybe that sounds sappy. I don't know. Maybe it is. But with any luck, I have their little baby growing inside of me right now. What could mean more than that? What could be more beautiful for them and for me?
You know, Sarah, that was awesome. Even in audio, I want to cry. And this is why you've won 3 Daytime Emmys. You're even good in audio. Did you hear yourself in audio? When you listen back to that and hear the acting,
I'm just listening for all the mistakes. I'm hearing the mistakes. I'm hearing the mistakes. Yep. I can't help it. It's what I do, right? That's how you get better.
Mm-hmm. But you thought
if you snowboard, you watch yourself back and you go, oh, darn, that was bad. Go back this way. But, you know, the thing I love about daytime, what's really fun and challenging as an actor, you don't get 2 and 3 takes. You don't get 25 takes if you want to talk about film.
It's really come down tighter.
It's one.
One take.
It's one take. It's done. It's in and out, and you're done. And unless you completely flub it up really, really bad or they have a problem, you move on. So it's not about I can do it better, because you know you can always do it better, especially when you've never even spoken the words out loud sometimes with the other actors. But we don't have that kind of time. So that is the fun in daytime, is thinking on your feet, doing the best you can with one take. And then when you watch it back, being horrified.
And we go, what the hell did I do?
Oh, my God, did I say it like that?
Well, now, coming up next week, things are going to get very interesting when Sandy has a panic attack and something is up with flashbulbs and flashbacks, and something in Sandy's past has certainly happened. And we learn whether the embryonic transplant is a success, too, next week.
Right.
And Nick and Sandy then have a very interesting encounter.
Correct. The kickoff of all of that, I guess, is at Jackie M. Right. So I come over and I think Sandy is just really not prepared for what she sees when she gets there, and there's a whole big hubbubaloo going on. And this is a person who's pretty much locked herself away as a bit of a shut-in. Yeah. I mean, it's really a shut-in. Let's put it that way. For a very long time, and so. Suddenly she's on a set, if you will. There are people everywhere. The cousin who's not supposed to be named, he who shall not be named, is standing in the corner. Is he going to give me away? A lot of pressure, a lot of heat. She may or may not be pregnant, so there may or may not be those hormones, but certainly there's the hormones from the injections that the fertility clinic gives her in order to make her more fertile. And there's a cacophony of events, and she just sort of loses it.
You have a freak out.
I do, but not in front of everybody. Oh. Really interesting private moment that almost, I think will be the first time the audience goes, oh.
Excellent.
The facade is cracking. You know, it just really, the walls start to come down at that point around her, and she's crawling out of her skin to get out of there.
If you would tease kind of what to look forward to from Sandy without, letting them
shattering the shell,
without shattering the shell, what would you say? She's going to be more...
Wow, she's going to be more curious and more curious as time goes by. I think that Sandy is a character that you can look to have an enormous overhaul, personally, professionally, spiritually, mentally, in every possible way, in the very first 2 months on the canvas. She really has an extreme makeover, if you will.
An extreme makeover.
Of the insides.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's good or bad. Something. It may be a good extreme makeover, and it may not be. But it is going to be interesting, that I can say.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being with me today. And we're looking forward to the extreme makeover of Sandy Agnes. And be sure to look out for another edition of the B&B podcast. My name is Michael Fairman. Thank you for listening.